Hello guys, today I am going to be going over another new way to graph data for our statistics module. And today we are going to be learning about dot plots. Dot plots are essentially number lines with dots on them, so it is really, really easy to remember what dot plots are because it's in the name. All right. So dot plots are essentially a way for us to organize and visualize data that we would get from answering a statistical question. So examples of statistical questions that we went over a few videos back would be things like, how many siblings do the kids in my class have? On average, how tall are the basketball players on this team? Things like that. And this is essentially just a way to organize the data that we get. But it only works for certain types of data. I'll go over that more in a little bit, but first I just want to show you what a dot plot even looks like. So like I said, a dot plot just starts with a number line. You can probably hear Chomper, he's trying to join the lesson right now. Just like an average number line. And let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say, I'm trying to think of what would make sense with these answers. Let's go all the way to 0. Let's say this is a number of pets. So let's say I surveyed a group of kids about how many pets that they owned. And let's say I had somebody say 2, somebody said 4, somebody said 0, somebody said 8, somebody said 1, somebody said 7, somebody else said 7, somebody else said 2, another, I'm just going to make up random answers, okay? Basically, this dot plot is a way to organize those answers. Like I've said 3 times now. I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself. So what I would do is I would start by just looking at my numbers and putting them on the graph. And I would put them on a graph with a dot, okay? So I have a 2, I'm going to put a dot above the 2. I have a 4, I put a dot above the 4. A 0, I put a dot above the 0. 8, 1, 7. All right, and if you get a double, so if you get a repeat of a number, all you do is put your second dot on top of that dot. And another 2, 2 more 1s, and another 0. So what this essentially means is if I'm looking at this, I can know that 2 kids in the class, because there's 2 dots, have 0 pets. 3 kids have 1 pet. 2 kids have 2 pets. 1 kid has 4 pets. 2 kids have 7 pets, and 1 kid has 8 pets. If there are no dots, then I know that nobody has that amount of pets. So nobody has 3 pets, nobody has 5, nobody has 6. That's how this works. The cool thing about dot plots is that they organize the data in order from least to greatest because it's a number line, right? So you can still find things like the range and the median and the mode using a dot plot. So if I were to look at this, I know that the biggest answer that a student gave was 8 pets, right? And if the range is biggest number minus the smallest number, I could take that 8 minus, what's the smallest answer that somebody gave? Well, the smallest number of pets that somebody gave was 0. So some kids had 8 pets, some kids had 0 pets. In order to find the range of my data set, 8 minus 0 equals 8. I can also find mode pretty easily. This is actually one of the easiest ways to look for mode because it's such a visual representation of our data. If I'm looking at this, which column or which number has the most dots on it? Well, 1 has 3 dots. The next highest is 2. So our mode of this data set would be 1. Another thing that we can find is median. Sorry, I was trying to look for another pencil or another color. And median, we know that we cross off the smallest number, we cross off the biggest number until we get 1 or 2 numbers left. So what I would do is, this is already in order from least to greatest, right? Because it's on a number line. So cross off 1 from the smallest value, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. And the only number I have left, or my last number, is 2. So my median would be 2. I can find all of this out with a dot plot. So I'm going to do another example where I'm going to start with a dot plot. And I want you to be able to pause, answer the questions that I ask. Essentially, I want you to work on interpreting the dot plot that I create. Okay, so here is my new dot plot. I am going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to pause, think about what your answer would be, and then resume the video and see if you got the answer correct, okay? So my first question is going to be, what is this dot plot even about? Think about it for a second. Look at what I have up here and see, like, what is this data even talking about? You should have looked at this title at the bottom and saw that the data is representing how many siblings these people had. So I would assume that I asked people, a group of people, we don't know who, how many siblings that they had, and these are their answers. So you can tell what the dot plot's about just by the title at the bottom. All right, next question. How many people only have one sibling? Your answer should be 2. This is the number of siblings, right? This is 0 siblings, 1 sibling, 2 sibling, 3 sibling, 4 sibling, 5 sibling, 6 siblings, etc., right? So you should be able to look and find one sibling. All right, there's 2 dots above it. That means that 2 people answered that. 2 people that I surveyed only had 1 sibling. All right, how many people had 3 siblings? You should have found that 3 people, because there are 3 dots above 3. How many people have 7 siblings? 1, right? There's only 1 dot. How many people have 6 siblings? None. There are no dots there. How many people have 2 siblings? 4, because we have 4 dots above that. Now, this is a trickier question because I didn't explicitly teach you how to find this, but I want you to see if you can answer this question. How many people did I survey in all? Pause it if you need to. Pause it no matter what. All right, in order to find the answer to this question, all you do is count how many dots I have, right? Because I said that this is one person's answer, this is another person's answer, this is another person's, etc. So in order to find out how many people were even surveyed, all I would have to do is just count out how many dots I had. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people were surveyed, which means that, that is my answer. 13 people were surveyed because there are 13 dots. That's what I was trying to say. All right, try and solve what the mode of this, or what's the most common answer. My mode is 2. That has the most dots over it, right? What would be my range of this data set? My biggest answer is 7. The smallest answer anybody gave was 1. I have a 0 on here, but it doesn't have any dots, so it really doesn't count, right? Because it's by itself. I don't really need to even include that. Things like 6, yeah, I can't just skip a number on a number line. But 0, there's nothing else past it, right? You can't have negative siblings. So in order to find the range, you would take the biggest answer that somebody gave minus the smallest answer that somebody gave. So 7 minus 1, our range here would be 6. All right, this one is going to take a second. I want you to find the median. All right, in order to find median, you needed to cross off, right? So you have to cross off smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest. Oh, sorry, I skipped that one, but it's going to end up being the same. Smallest, biggest. Our median is 3. So the middle number was 3 siblings. That means if I line them all up from least to greatest, which I did, and I crossed them off from the sides, the median amount of siblings is 3. Now, I want to think about what dot plots would even be useful for. So, obviously, in these examples that I'm giving, all of the answers are relatively close together, right? I don't have one person that gave me a 0, and then that one person that gave me 1,000, and one person gave me 1,000,000, because I'm asking questions like, how many siblings do you have? This is going to be very, I want to say, ineffective if you're asking about questions that are going to have a way bigger range, or there's a ton of different data sets, right? If you expect everyone to have a different answer, this probably isn't the best method. If you expect one person to answer 0 and one person to answer 1,000,000, this probably isn't the best method, because do you really want to write 1,000,000 check marks? Not really, right? This makes sense when you have answers that are all relatively close together, okay? So would you want to make a number line for that? That would be the first thing that I would ask myself when deciding what I'm going to use. And if I'm going to use a dot plot, it's going to be something that's like, okay, all of my answers are relatively close. I have more than one of some answers, because there's really no point in making a dot plot if everybody has a completely different answer from each other. So nobody's answer doubles is what I mean. So just really thinking about when would these make sense? When would using a dot plot make sense? And we're going to learn about other graphs that you can use. We already learned about a box and whisker plot. And we're also going to learn about histograms next. But I think that that's a pretty good rundown of what a dot plot is. I don't think it's a particularly hard concept, but obviously, of course, you guys know if you have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, message me, comment, whatever. But I will be back with a lesson about histograms next. So I'll see you then. Bye, guys. I hope you're staying safe.